Hello, my name is Jaclyn Kim, and today I'm going to be talking about the different enharmonic notes on the E string. Enharmonic means that the notes have two different names or they look different on the music staff, but if you close your eyes, they sound the same. So an F flat and an E natural sound the same, but they have two different names and they look different on the music. If you want a more basic understanding of the notes on the E string, I have another video that talks about the most common notes on the E string, and that one's a lot more simple. This one's a lot more in depth, so I would watch that other video first if this one's a little confusing. So the very first note on the E string is E natural. You can't get any lower on the violin unless you're going to tune it differently. And E natural you play with your open string. And then you could also have F flat. So F flat would be on the fifth line with a little flat sign. And the only way you can play an F flat is also your open E string. So normally when we see that note on the fifth line of the staff, we would want to use our first finger, but because it has a flat sign, we have to use our open string. So the very first note, E natural, and the second note, F flat. It's not a very common note, we don't see it a lot, and when we do see it, it is kind of confusing because it is rare, but F flat does exist, I suppose. And then you have your next note is F natural. So a natural sign, F natural like that. We would use our first finger. If you had a G double flat, that would sound the same as a F natural, but that is very, very rare. The next note you have is F sharp. So a little sharp sign, F sharp. But another name for F sharp is G flat. So flat sign and G flat like that. This note F sharp with your first finger, and then G flat sounds the same, looks different. And just because it's a G, and normally we would play a second finger with G, but since it's the same place as an F sharp, we almost always would use a first finger, even though it is technically a G. And that's okay. You can place different fingers on different notes once you get to a more advanced level. Okay, then the next note is G natural. And G natural we use with a low 2 most commonly. You could also have a F double sharp. That would be the same thing as a G natural, but again, that's very, very rare. And then the next common note you have is a G sharp. And a very common enharmonic note for G sharp is an A flat. So normally we play G sharp as a high 2, but an A flat, you would have a flat sign like this. You could play with a high 2 or you could play with a low 3. Just depends on the frame of your hand and what you're doing and what note precedes it. But this G sharp sounds like this. And then the next note, A flat, also sounds like this. And again, we just use a sharp versus flat depending on what's in the key signature or what key you're surrounding in your music right at that moment. And then you have a natural, a regular 3, or that could also be called a G double sharp. So many different options. There really are endless, and these are not all the options. These are just the most common enharmonics that I can think of right now. And then A natural could also be called B double flat, but it would sound the same. And then you have A sharp, which is the same thing as B flat. And those are very common as well. A sharp we would use with a high 3, and a B flat we would use with a low 4. But again, you can switch it. It doesn't have to be always that. And then you have B natural. And B natural could be an A double sharp, or it could be a C flat. A C flat would be 2 ledger lines and a flat sign. So a B natural sounds like this, and a C flat sounds like this. And those are kind of, I think, the most common enharmonic notes. There's one more that I thought about that's pretty common, and it's E sharp. Looks like that. E sharp we play with a low 1 most commonly. E sharp is the same thing as F natural. And that one we see pretty often as well, depending on what type of music you're playing, what level you're at. But yeah, enharmonic notes allow us to play in multiple keys and still have patterns that make sense. Even though this may have been a little bit confusing, hopefully it cleared up any enharmonic questions you had. Maybe you were trying to play an E sharp and it kept sounding like an F natural to you. Well, that's a good thing because they're supposed to sound the same. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments and I'll reply to you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.